the history of all parts of the company. So if you're looking for the history of Disneyland, it's not down in Anaheim, it's here. The history of Walt Disney World is not in Orlando, it's here. So at the corporate headquarters, the history of the whole organization. What I'm going to do this afternoon, I brought out some special things to share with you, things that we don't ordinarily have out on display. And then we'll give you some time to go around and look at the displays. They're all labeled, so you can pretty much tell what's in all of the cases. And you can take your photographs at that time. So we're going to start talking a little bit about Disneyland, and I'm going to ask some trivia questions too. So, no prizes though. July 17th, 1955, Disneyland opened in Anaheim. If you were living in Southern California that day, could you go to Disneyland? No, it was an invitational press preview. And here is the ticket.
Oh my gosh.
Press preview. Didn't open until 2:30 in the afternoon. We didn't have a lot of time to enjoy the park that day. But you know, the main reason for opening that day was for the television special that they were doing. Because Walt was doing something brand new with Disneyland. And people didn't know what a Disneyland was at that time. So he wanted to tell them, and that was why he did the TV special. So on the back it warns you to get there on time because they're going to be filming. But also a map. Nobody knew where Disneyland was. So that was important. I'll leave these on the table so that you can take your pictures of them. This is even rarer than the ticket because this is the parking pass and it's gummed on the back. So you would have licked this and put it on your windshield. And of course you'd have to scrape it off. So I doubt that too many of these have survived. So, the next day, July 18th, could you go to Disneyland that day?
That was close.
Okay. And Roy Disney, Walt's brother, bought ticket number 1, and here it is. How much to get in?
Looks like $1.
That's right. The ticket situation was a lot different in those days, though. You would buy your admission ticket like this at the front gate, but all it did was get you in the gate. Every single attraction in the park had a ticket booth sitting in front of it, and if you wanted to go on Jungle Cruise or you wanted to go on Peter Pan, you had to stand in line and buy a ticket. And people started complaining that it was expensive spending a day at Disneyland, and I think part of that was psychological because they had to keep reaching into their wallet for money every time they went up to an attraction. So one of our marketing people had the idea of ticket books.
I have some of those.
They started in October of 1955. So this is the very first version of the Disneyland ticket book. It was $2.50 for a day at Disneyland. And consisted of your admission ticket on the front and then A, B, and C tickets. And we added the D ticket in 1956, and then the E ticket came along in 1959. And that sort of became part of American culture. We learned that an E ticket ride was sort of the ultimate in thrills. So, trivia. What did we add to the park in 1956 to warrant a new ticket in the ticket book? The D ticket.
Submarines in another one.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
59 is better.
That's wrong.
Nobody ever gets this answer, so don't worry if you don't think of it. Okay, let me tell you what was going on there. Disneyland opened in July. It was a huge success immediately. Within 7 weeks, they had 1 million visitors. So Walt knew he had to add some capacity to the park. And 2 things. He had to do it quickly, because he needed these new attractions right away. Plus, he didn't have a lot of money yet. The cash flow wasn't really coming in yet. So he knew they had to be inexpensive. So, Tom Sawyer Island, the Skyway, Storybook Land. Those were added in 56. So, easier question. 1959, the Matterhorn. Well, I told you one. What were the 3 in 1959 that warranted the e-ticket?
Submarine.
Is it a submarine voyage?
Submarine? I don't know.
I don't know.
Monorail.
Very good.
Oh, monorail.
Very good. So, when did we stop using ticket books? 82, that's right. Actually, in 1981, we started offering the passport. And you had a choice. You could buy either the ticket book or the passport. And we found that 85% of the people coming up to the gate were buying the passport. So that's when they decided to phase out the ticket books. But you know what that also phased out were these little admission tickets, general admission, which they were still selling. They weren't $1 anymore, but they were still quite inexpensive. And the locals liked to use those just to get into the park and shop and eat in the restaurants and soak up the atmosphere. So when we no longer had that general admission ticket available, that's when they had to come up with the annual passport. So that was created when that general admission was no longer available. Now Walt wanted a guidebook on opening day, but there was no time to get in and photograph the park. So it's simply the designs of what the park was going to look like. He also said, I want to sell this for $0.25. And his publishing people said, well, Walt, it's going to cost you a lot more than $0.25 to produce this. And he said, no, this is a good marketing tool. Because if this is only $0.25, everybody's going to want to buy one. And they're going to take it home, and they're going to put it on their coffee table, and their friends and their relatives are going to see it, and they're going to want to go to Disneyland too. So he was smart. As soon as they had a chance, they did a photo guidebook, and this came out in the fall of 1955. So the park looks very bare. Trees hadn't grown up yet. So this, I don't usually have out for groups, but I thought you might enjoy seeing it today. This is the original script for Steamboat Willie.
Oh my gosh.
This is how they did them in 1928. They would have the text on the left-hand side of the page, and then thumbnail sketches of what was going on in the scene on the right. And iWorks would have done the drawings, and Walt himself would have typed the text. I was told when I came here that Walt wasn't that interested in his history, and once he finished a project, he set it aside and went on to the next project and never looked back again. But one of my first jobs was to inventory his offices, and this was in his desk drawer. To me, that says he had some interest in his history. Okay, finally, I brought out one of the Oscars. This is the one for White Wilderness, one of our true life adventure nature documentaries. We had a series of 13 of these nature documentaries. 8 of them won the Oscar as Best Documentary. So that's a pretty good record when you get 8 Oscars out of a series that has only 13 films in it. But Walt won 32, way more than anybody else. Cedric Gibbons, who was an art director at MGM, got 11. He was second. So nobody's ever going to catch up to Walt's 32. So anyway, I'm going to give you some time to walk around and look at the displays. You're welcome to hold the Oscar and take your picture with it. And if you have any questions as you're going around, I'll be here to answer them.
Thank you so much. Great.
You guys take a few minutes to look around in here, and then as you exit, we're going to give you